everyone, my name is Chelsea. Welcome to Little Mountain Ranch. Welcome to my garden. I'm really happy to have you here with me today where we are going to do another giant harvest. And I have some things to share with you today that are quite a surprise to me, but very, very welcome. I also wanted to give you an update on my bees. I did talk to Winston from BC Bee Supply. That's where I got my bees from. When I went in and checked my bees in my last video, I found that one of my hives was queenless. So Winston is actually shipping me up a queen as we speak so that I can requeen my hive and hopefully get that hive nice and strong before winter time. So I just wanted to keep you updated with that. So the first thing that we're going to get into right now is this broccoli that you can see behind me here. So if you'll remember the other day, I think it was last week, we were checking on my broccoli and I noticed that the way that the broccoli florets were forming was unusual, something that I hadn't seen before. Some of them were really, really tightly formed, not opening up at all. And then some of them were actually almost at the point of bolting. That means starting to flower. And I found that rather odd, but I decided to wait, give them a little bit of time and see what happened. And I cannot wait to show you what happened. We have some beautiful broccoli in here to harvest. Look at all of these gorgeous broccoli heads. So I have to get these picked right now because they are starting to loosen a little bit, but they're still nice and tight. I mean, they are perfect to be harvesting right now, but in this heat wave that we're having, I certainly wouldn't want to leave them for much longer because then they would end up flowering for sure. But look at them all, friends. I ended up with a decent broccoli harvest after all. Who would have thought after this rough start to the gardening season that we had that I would actually end up with broccoli? Look at this. This is going to be enormous. I mean, I usually grow really nice broccoli, but this year I thought for sure there was just no way. It was just too cold and then too hot. And to be honest, these ones are still tight enough. I could probably leave them for at least a couple more days, except for the fact that we are in the middle of another heat wave and I don't want these to start bolting. You can see this one, look at that. But it is starting to loosen a little bit. So we're going to get these all harvested and I am so incredibly happy about this. I wanted to take a peek inside these gigantic cauliflowers. Oh my gosh, look at that. Look at those beauties. Oh my word. We're gonna get some cauliflower too. Not today. These ones are definitely gonna hang out in here a little bit longer. So these are called self-blanching and you can see how tall and upright the leaves are. And that is to keep the sun off of this beautiful little cauliflower head in here. And by keeping the sun off of it, it is going to stay nice and white instead of turning yellow. What I often do in varieties that aren't self-blanching like this is I will snap a leaf over like that and just cover them like that. I've seen people tie them up before too, but I find this is more effective. But it does look like we're gonna have a fantastic cauliflower harvest too. We also have some beautiful cabbage. Look at that cabbage to harvest. That is going to be ready to harvest any day as well. These are Copenhagen market cabbages, one of my favorites. We have these beautiful Savoy leafed cabbages. Look at that gorgeous one. So this is my abundance kale and I have let it go to flower. One thing about abundance kale in comparison to some of the more traditional kales over here is it does have more of a tendency to bolt, but I want it to do that though, because I want to get seeds off these. So I'm gonna let this flower go to seeds. There's one of my honeybees right there. Go to seed and then I'll harvest seed off of these in the fall. Oh no, look at that. That is our first, or at least the first cabbage moth I have seen this entire year. Go away. So we have not had cabbage moths at all this year, not even one. I can see there's a little bit of munching on some of my cabbages, so there's obviously been one or two that I've missed. But I had all my cabbages covered with bug netting up until, when was that? When did I take it off? I think it was around a month ago or so. And I took them off, and I think I'm actually going to be okay because we're going to harvest all the broccoli now. I find broccoli is the worst for the little cabbage worms to get up inside of them. So we're going to harvest them now since the cabbage moths are just coming out now. I think we'll be okay. And then most of the cabbages I'm also going to have harvested within the next week or two. My goodness, look at that. Oh my gosh, look at this. Holy cow. I am just absolutely thrilled with these broccoli. Someone had asked whether I had planted the same variety of broccoli that I always plant. And I had completely forgotten until that person mentioned it, that when I went to order my Everest broccoli, which is what I've grown every year, they were sold out. So I ended up having to grow another variety or a couple of other varieties of broccoli, and I'm going to look it up when I go back in the house, and I'll put it on the screen here for you if I can find it, of what variety this is. But I haven't tried any yet to see how I like it for flavor. But as far as growth, it's a little bit odd the way that it grows, just how tight some of the florets are and how loose some of the other ones are. But these are spectacular, nice large heads. So there is 45 heads of broccoli in this wheelbarrow. So exciting. So now we're going to go over to the pickling cucumbers, and we're going to pick pickling cucumbers, and then we're going to go inside and I'm going to show you how I am going to preserve all of this broccoli, and then we'll also make some dill pickles, and we'll can them this time. The last time I showed you a recipe for refrigerator dill pickles, so we'll try some of those too. I may have already tried a few of them. They're really good, but I promised that I would show you how to can them as well, so we'll make sure that we do that. So I am breaking my own rule for picking pickling cucumbers. I usually like to get them picked early in the morning before it starts to get hot, because that just seems to produce a crispier pickle when I go in to make pickles. But I had a very, very busy morning, so I am stuck with doing it right now, which is around 11 o'clock in the morning. It's definitely getting warm out here, that's for sure. But I think we're going to get a nice haul of pickling cucumbers, which is exciting. I know that I use the word exciting a lot, and that is because I find gardening and canning and all the things that I show here on my channel very exciting. I don't find everything really exciting, but I find canning, growing food, all that super exciting. Oh, I was worried because I hadn't come out the last couple of days. We had company, that I was going to end up with a bunch of super gigantic cucumbers, but these look pretty good. And fortunately, all of this foliage does help keep the cucumbers cool so they don't go super soft even in the heat of the day. Oh, there's one giant one. Usually I save my giant ones for making sweet pickles. There's another biggie. I said this the other day, that it just feels like the garden season, or the harvest season anyways, took forever to get here. And I was thinking about it. I think the reason for that is because we got such an early start to the gardening season this year with having no snow in the spring. So we were able to get out here and start working in the garden early. So I've been working out in the garden far longer than I normally would have, because I'm not really sure as far as when things are ripening. It seems to me like it's taking longer than usual. Oh dear, some really big ones here. Maybe making some sweet pickles today. Do you know what's really exciting? Is I'm going to be able to start making some jardinera very soon because we're going to have cauliflower and carrots and peppers ready. So jardinera is a mixed pickle that has all these yummy things in it, yummy veggies in it. And it is definitely one of our favorites. Wow, these ones down on this end are just loaded. So many bees in here. The amount of cucumbers in here is so awesome. My goodness, I just have to show you guys this. Oh my word. Look at all the cucumbers just in this one spot. There's so many. Last year was not good at all, but I do think that this year is going to make up for that. I definitely should have got down here about 2 days ago. Would have been perfect for size for dills, but probably going to be able to make a couple jars of baby dills and then some bread and butter pickles out of these. Okay, now I gotta go down the other side. So my little wheelbarrow is overflowing, so I've had to leave little piles of pickling cucumbers all over the garden. And I am going to bring this up, empty this out, and come back and pick up the rest of them. And then I also have to grab a bunch of zucchinis, and I mean a bunch. We have all those, and then we have a ton of these cue ball squash that are way bigger than they should be, so we need to get all these picked too. This kind of harvest just thrills me to no end. Look at that. Isn't that just so beautiful? So I'll grab the rest of this veg and I'll meet you up at the house and we will get all this processed. Okay, so we all pitched in together and got all of this food prepped for processing, and it only took us around 30 minutes total, start to finish. So let me show you what we did. We have the cucumbers that we're going to use for dill pickles sitting in some cold water with a little bit of salt, just so that they didn't start going soft while I was waiting to get them into jars. We have our pickle brine here that we made together the other day. In this bowl here, we have all of our cucumbers that we are going to be using for our sweet pickles, and they're cut with a ripple cutter. I'll show you what that looks like in just a sec. So this has some salt in it, and we're going to leave this to sit for a little bit just to extract some of the water. And then we have a ton of broccoli here. All of this is chopped broccoli. You can see here that we have some of the stalks chopped up as well, the nice tender stalks. More here, and then the cucumbers that were too big, we'll just eat these sliced up on sandwiches or whatever. So the plan here is we're going to blanch this in this pot of water over here. So we're going to blanch them for 3 minutes and then put them over into the sink with some ice water so that they can cool down rapidly. And then I'm going to be freeze drying some. I'll be vacuum sealing some and throwing them in the freezer, and we'll use those for all sorts of things. Throw them in soups for the winter time. The freeze dried ones make a really good broccoli and cheese cream soup. And then the ones that I freeze, we usually use to make savory crepes. So that's just a crepe with broccoli and cauliflower and cheese sauce. It's so good. But I think what we're gonna do first is, well, that water's coming up to a boil, so we'll keep that, the broccoli processing through, because it's gonna take me some time to get all of that blanched. But let's get the dill pickles made. So we're going to take our brine here, and we're gonna get that heating up. So this is salt, apple cider vinegar, white vinegar, and water. So you'll have to check the ratios depending on the quantity that you're doing. I made a really large batch of this a couple days ago, and then I just keep it in the fridge. so that I have a batch of brine, because I explained this in my last video, but I do small batches every day. So I'll go out and pick pickling cucumbers in the morning, make up a couple of jars, just because I like making them as fresh as absolutely possible, and having brine already pre-made in the fridge is just super convenient. So I just want to heat it up. Because I am going to be hot packing these, I'm going to use my electric pressure canner on the water bath setting for these pickles. It is way too hot outside right now to go and pick dill out of the garden. I was just out there and it's blazing hot. So I have some that I froze here. So this is dill flowers. I like using those in my dill pickles. They give a really nice, strong dill flavor. So I usually put at least one good sized one or a couple of smaller ones in each jar. Some of these big ones I'll just pull in half. Pop those in there, cram these full of pickles. I guess they're not pickles yet. Cucumbers will soon be pickles. As to not waste space, just try to fill all the spaces with cucumbers. These are gonna be good, I can just tell already. I am spilling water all over the floor here. Where did that water come from? Oh, we've got some boiling water over there, so let's go throw in our first round of broccoli. And try to fit as much of this in here as we can. And then I'll be scooping this out rather than dumping it out so that I can just reuse the water for a few rounds at least. I am just absolutely thrilled with this harvest. So now we're gonna set our timer for 3 minutes. Back over here. Dill pickles are one of those things that are kind of hard to get nice crispy pickles with. So a couple of the different tricks I use is I cut off the flower end of the pickle, because that is supposed to help. There's supposed to be an enzyme in there in the flower end that can make the pickle a little bit more or less crisp. I will sometimes throw in a horseradish leaf or a grape leaf. And again, it's too hot. I don't want to go back outside. So to help them be a little bit more crisp, I know people use pickle crisp, which I do believe is calcium chloride is what that actually is. And I have never done that before, but I have heard that it does work. I think I'll fill these jars, and then with the rest of these, I'll do some fermented ones so I can show you both. I personally love fermented pickles. We call them fizzy pickles in our house, but only a couple of my kids like them. Most of them think they're pretty gross. So one of the things that I made last year, which we all really liked, and I'll definitely do some this year. Oh, there's our timer. Oh, what was I saying? I was saying that I was going to make some burger pickles, or sandwich pickles, we call them. I made a bunch last year and they were fantastic, and I have a feeling I'm going to have more than enough pickling cucumbers to make every kind of pickle that we could ever want. So it's pretty exciting. So I just don't want to have to reboil all that water again. That's why I'm going to scoop it out this way and then reuse the water again. So one of the things that you can do if you're going to freeze them is to put them on cookie trays and freeze them that way, and then put them into your bags, and that way they're not all stuck together. I occasionally do that, but when I'm in the thick of harvest season like I am right now, I don't. I just Sometimes I'll put them in the salad spinner and spin them out. Sometimes I'll just shake them off really well and put them right into my vacuum seal bags and vacuum seal them like that. Because generally I am using an entire bag in a recipe. I'm not just trying to take out a few at a time, but if that is what you're trying to do, then definitely flash freeze them on a cookie sheet first before putting them in your bags. Okay, our water over here is nice and hot again. So we're gonna throw in a bunch more of our broccoli. So as you can see, it's not gonna take a ton of time at this rate. I am excited because it is our group call for our membership tonight. So we have a group call every Friday night, and I just love the calls so much. They are so much fun, and everybody seems to get a lot out of them. Every 2 weeks we do a general chat call where everybody can just kind of ask their questions, and then every alternating week we do a topic call. So this tonight's call is actually all about raising cattle. We've done herbs, we've done canning, we've done, what else have we done? Composting, lots of different things that we've chatted about. It's so much fun. Okay, so we have our vacuum sealer set up over here and our large bags. And there goes our timer. I am happy to say that I have not found any cabbage worms in these at all. I have a good cabbage worm story. So many moons ago when I started one of my first gardens, I think it was the first garden that I tried growing up in our climate, I didn't know anything about cabbage moths or cabbage worms. And so I planted this garden. I was so proud of it, particularly of the broccoli, and I made Dan lunch and he came home from work. And I was like, oh, how was your salad? Were you know, was it so good or whatever to have like homegrown food? And he just kind of paused and he's like, well, I opened it up and there were multiple worms. I can't remember how many he said, but like 5 worms. I don't even know how this is possible because I of course washed the veggies first, but I didn't even know to look at them. And sometimes, let me see if I can give you an example. They can get up inside of like this part, and if you don't know to look for them, they'd be easy to miss because they're the exact color of the broccoli. So anyway, he opened it up in the lunchroom and there were literally worms crawling around on the top of his salad. So needless to say, it did take him a little while to trust that I would look and I would make sure that there wasn't bugs in his food. But yeah, the worms can be pretty gross. One of the things that I do is soak them in salt water or just even in plain water. But even just cutting them up and then just checking them really carefully works really well. It actually works better than soaking them. And then of course we're blanching them as well. So any worms that would potentially be in there usually float to the top. I know that sounds really gross, but it's just the way it is when you grow broccoli. So I am just going to slice these giant cloves up and put them into our pickles. So I don't add pickling spice or anything like that to my dill pickles. I actually like them with just dill and garlic. I don't know if that's a common thing to add pickling spice, but I always get asked whenever I make pickles on YouTube, I always get asked why I don't use pickling spice, and I just never have. And I just like a simple dill and garlic dill pickle. Lots of garlic though. More garlic the better. Decided earlier that I was going to use the pressure canner on the water bath setting, but I'm just going to use my steam canner instead. So we're going to add our brine to these jars. So you definitely want to debubble when you're doing something like pickles. I mean, you should pretty much for everything, but air can get trapped in between those big pickles or those big cucumbers. We're going to process these for 15 minutes in our steam canner, or a water bath canner would work as well. And these are our refrigerator pickles that we made the other day, and they are so good. I already dug into the jar once. Super crunchy, super delicious. This is my steam canner. It is called the Fruit Saver, and I have my jars in here, so I'm just going to wait until it comes up to the temperature that it needs to be for my elevation, and then I'll set my timer for 15 minutes. And I have a couple sinks full of broccoli over there that needs to get put into bags. So I'm going to get all that done, and then we'll make a jar of the fermented pickles. Look at that garlic. Okay, so I'm gonna shove all this garlic, all of these nice big cloves, into this half-gallon jar. I have 5 cups of water and 2 tablespoons of salt in here. And I am just going to be putting the garlic and the dill in with these fermented pickles. You can throw all kinds of other things into your fermented pickles if you like. You can throw some, what could you put in there? Some red pepper flakes if you want a little bit of a kick. You could put in some onion, some cut up onion. So we are going to peel these, and we're gonna cut them into some smaller chunks. Plunk that all in there. Okay, so we're just gonna top off this with our pickles. This is our horseradish leaf here. So we are going to make a top for our jar. Smells good already. So we're gonna take this, plunk it in the top, hold our veg down underneath the brine. This works so well. Put our pickle pipe, our pickle puck on top, which is just a glass little puck. And lid that up. And then, like I always say, make sure that you have this sitting on a plate or something, because it will start to bubble up over the top, or at least sometimes it does, and you don't want to wreck your countertop. Sit this in a warm, dark spot, or if you're like me, right on your kitchen counter out of direct sunlight. And wait 7 to 14 days for your pickles to be ready. So our pickles, whew, that's still quite warm, are now out of the canner. They look fantastic, so we're gonna let these sit now until everything has sealed, and then we'll put them down in the pantry. I have 4 trays of broccoli down in the 8, 9, 10, probably around 11 of our vacuum sealed bags of broccoli for the freezer. So we have our sweet pickles here. The amount of water that's come out of these already is a lot. So I'm just giving these a stir to stir in that salt. I'm gonna add a little bit more salt to the top of these. And I will rinse this salt off before we actually can these. But I think what I'm gonna do is save these for tomorrow. And if we have enough time in today's video, I will share making these with you. If we don't, I will put it in the next video. And I think we are gonna go to the lake and go for a nice swim. So if we do have enough time, I'll be back with you again in the morning. And if we don't, I'll be signing off this video in just a second. So see you soon. We did not have enough time to fit in the bread and butter recipe into this video, so I will be sharing that in a upcoming video. So I hope that you all have a fantastic day. I'll see you again next time. Bye.